he's having in this Derby glory. And they're off and racing in the QE2 Cup. Derby winner, Ambitious Dragon, makes it 3 Group 1s in a row. 7 wins in a season and claiming the Derby QE2 Cup double. The first horse to do same since the great Vengeance of Rain.
It's a rare feat. Only 2 horses have successfully completed the Hong Kong Derby QE2 Cup double in the same year. And the horse trying to become the 3rd in the 2013 edition of the race is Audemars.
He's got to have a great chance. He's drawn well. We'll certainly learn a lot more about the strength of this year's Derby, but it's going to be some feat, I think, to repeat that performance. As Vengeance of Rain really was a special horse, and he proved that in the years to go on, and Ambitious Dragon has as well. So we'll learn a lot more about Audemars on Sunday.
Well, he's got to take on Ambitious Dragon, who worked this morning very well at Sha Tin.
Yeah, let's take a look at that track work now, Joe, from the local charge, and we'll kick off here with Ambitious Dragon. Of course, Bev Millard, wife of Tony, does all the work on this horse, and you know, he wasn't really asked to do a great deal. It's an interesting move, isn't it, going from the 1400 up to the 2000, and not an easy sort of thing to do training-wise, but by all accounts, Tony Millard seems to be happy with the horse, and you know, there's certainly no faltering his work. California Memory, I don't think, has worked quite as well going to this race as he was back in December. I think that's, you know, the evidence of that was a recent trial. But, you know, a lot can happen in the space of a couple of weeks, and that trial was about 10 days ago. But he's probably not showing the spark that he has on other occasions. Military Attack, I was surprised to see him sort of work over 1,200 metres here. Quite strong work, actually. And a bit was asked, and he worked with Leading City, usually sets along a good gallop. But Military Attack, he's really in a purple patch of form, and I certainly couldn't fault him. He's not a really an impressive worker, generally speaking. A bit asked here of Thumbs Up, worked on the outside as well. This was a little earlier in the week, and Thumbs Up, well, he's basically sort of, he should be a little fitter. I don't know if he's at his absolute top yet, but, you know, he will have improved from his last run, that's for sure. Arian's Final Gallop is actually a very good piece of work, but I think what's happened with Arian is that he's just not putting in on race day anymore. You know, he's probably one of the better workers all round, generally going into every race that he competes in, but he's not quite delivering on race day. Of course, Zidane was recently picked up from Tony Cruz, and quite a shuffly worker himself, but I think they're going to be very happy with the way he's going into the race. I know Matthew Chadwick thought this horse was definitely on song and ready to do the job based on his overall work, so that's encouraging. Here's Audemars. Well, he's, you know, his recent trial, I think, just highlighted that the horse has really done well since the Derby. He hasn't had an arduous campaign by any means, and his form's on the way up, and so is his general well-being, I would suppose. So Douglas White galloped him here down the back, a great piece of work, and the Derby winner certainly looks in fantastic order. I can see why Richard Gibson needs to give him a bit of work as well, because he's so robust through the neck, the colt. But here's Ashkir and Arian. This was the gallop I was talking as well before about Arian. I mean, he worked, I thought, a bit better than Ashkir. He might be, you know, not the best worker, but Ashkir seems to come out of the Derby okay, but I think he'll probably, as John Moore's highlighted a few times, be more of a next season horse. But Arian's certainly working well there. And well, Crackerjack just going through the paces here. He's going to be one of the outsiders of the field. I think I had him marked at around $50. That might be generous. He's probably more like a 100 to 1 chance, but nonetheless, his work there was steady enough, but he does need to lift significantly on what he's done. He certainly worked in a pleasing manner there, but I haven't seen any substantial improvement. And Wrath of Fire, well, he's got a long way to find on the ratings, but it's him working on the outside, and he seemed in reasonable order. But I think Ambitious Dragon's connections are going to be very happy. I think Audemars' connections should be very happy going into it, and probably not so much California Memories.
Looking at that footage, Clint, there's no doubt Audemars has been the eye-catching horse at the track during the week. The winner of the Derby, on which there's been a bit of a question mark about the quality of this year's race.
Well, there has to be too, Joe, because of the ratings band of the Derby. I mean, in years gone past, the ratings were so much higher, but you can only play with the cards you're dealt, and Audemars did everything right this day, gunning down the stablemate Gold Fun and endowing, who was off a very light rating in this race. But what I believe from watching his follow-up trial, calling the trials that morning, I thought this guy's improved a lot. He's coming on, and he's pretty lightly raced as well in Hong Kong, and given his stature and that, he's just going to keep improving with racing.
And importantly, he's settling well now.
That was a key part of the trial. But they don't go hard in these trials, and he's settled perfectly.
It's been a big year for trainer Richard Gibson so far, with 2 Group 1s to the stable trophy cabinet so far. Will he add a third with a QEII on Sunday?
Very much so. You know, it's the advantage of training such wonderful racehorses. You know, they take everything well, and we even think the horse has progressed since the Derby. So, you know, we're really pleased with his physical condition.
Seemed to show even more in that barrier trial.
Yeah, he was very impressive that day, and Douglas sat on him this morning, just last-minute fine-tuning, and we're really pleased with his condition.
With regards to the barrier draw, I suppose where you've drawn must be pretty pleasing as well?
Yeah, the owner seems to be very good at that, so yeah, we're really pleased with our draw. You know, these races do help when you've got a good draw, so it's an added bonus.
What's your general sense with how you think he's going to measure up against some very well-performed Group 1 horses?
You know, I've never hidden my admiration, and you know, I believe this is a way above average Derby winner in Hong Kong. I would just keep it simple and say, you know, need a good horse to beat him.
So he's come up with gate 4, ideal.
3 in the Derby, so what was the arrangement with the Lucky Charms for the 4 in this race?
Pan Su Tong, the owner of a QEII at the barrier draw yesterday, in his pockets was carrying a bunch of chilies and a gold bar.
Oh no.
On the advice of the Feng Shui expert.
A gold bar.
And they wanted gate 4 and they got it. Anyhow, let's move on and talk about one of the 3 John Moore trained runners lining up on the weekend. Military Attack, the first of them and the best of them.
Well, kudos to Clint. He's been talking Military Attack up for a long time, and now we're now seeing it coming to fruition. He got a beautiful run this day, great turn of foot. I think, Clint, what was quite impressive about his last success, that he showed that versatility in a race with no speed, that he was able to roll along and make his own luck. Which
is going to be a big factor there on the weekend. I mean, he's drawn well. I think he'll get, I mean, we've seen him lead, but I think he'll box seat there. Tomorrow he'll just park in the lovely spot. Military Attack is, you know, really in a purple patch of form. He's shown a good turn of foot from racing handy, and I think he's clearly John Moore's leading charge going to this race. I think it'll be very hard to beat.
John Moore has won this race twice in the past, going for a third with 3 very good chances.
Drawing gate 3 when we know there's going to be no speed in the race at all, to draw the inside gate is definitely a bonus, and because, you know, he can be ridden anywhere in a race actually, but off a slow speed it's better that he's ridden forward, and from that gate I expect him to be in verse 5 or 6, and no doubt given every chance.
Where's Ash Kerr at in terms of how you think he'll measure up?
Well, his Derby run was below par. There may have been 1 or 2 little things that we had to tweak to make sure that he didn't put in the same sort of run this time. But I worked him a little bit harder going into this race. And as I said, we tweaked 1 or 2 little things. He will be a better horse, as I mentioned to the press, with his being, you know, once he's gelded. But from that sort of gate, you know, a horse like that, you know, would probably be going back or something like that. And if he finishes off nicely, then we'd consider backing him up in the Queen Mothers 7 days later.
And what's your take on Arian? How do you line up this horse, given, you know, some of his quirks and tendencies?
Well, it's the roll of the dice with Arian, because we know he has this problem of speedy cutting, and we've brought blacksmiths in from overseas. We've done every possible type of, we've added, you know, applied every type of different, you know, shoes to his hind feet. But if he did put his right foot forward, he's very capable of winning a race like this. And the gate he's drawn will give him a chance to lay up much closer. And you know, if it's his day, he could win it.
Military Attack, the leading light of his trio.
Clearly. I just wonder though with Arian, with this speedy cutting thing, whether he does seem to go better on wet tracks. I know in Germany before he came here he had very sound form on wet. Personally, I couldn't have Ash Kerr off the Derby performance in his follow-up trial. But I mean, Arian's only been placed once in 12 months. So I think Military is clearly the pick.
As you say though, Arian, he's won 4 out of 5 on yielding tracks, so cushion in the track can help Arian for sure. And I'm a bit like you. I think Ash Kerr's not in the race. He's more of a 2,400 metre horse, looks a little more down. Maybe when he's gelded, he might show a turn of foot then. But come Sunday, I think he's one you can just push to the side.
Another trainer with safety and numbers in the QE2 Cup is Tony Cruz. He saddles up California Memory and the recently acquired Zydan.
Yeah, I'm fantastic. It's third time lucky, maybe, you know, because the owner keeps, Howard Liang, he keeps getting the LA #1. I'm very surprised and very happy about it, you know.
Where do you place this horse in terms of his condition and how you've been able to train him leading into this?
Well, this is the only time I did, well, let's say his Barry trial was really ordinary, you know. I wouldn't say he's fit at all, you know, even. But he's come on good after the Barry trial. He has a big improvement after the Barry trial. And now that the owner has picked alley #1, seems like it's a good omen, a good sign that means the horse really coming in for a good chance again, you know.
So do you enter the race with hope or confidence, or?
As long as it doesn't hurt him. You know, the last time he pulled up, he was sore because we couldn't medicate him. You know, this time we could medicate him, and I'm sure he's going to run a big race this time.
Tony Cruz, no doubt very happy with California Memory drawing gate 1. It's a barrier he's performed well from in the past.
He's won a couple of Hong Kong Cups from that gate, and on his day he can beat anything, California Memory. But there's so many good horses in the race, you've got to eliminate horses out of it when you're making your selections for various reasons. And I think the reasons for California Memory being out of my tips anyway is that his preparation hasn't been right this time. He doesn't look right. There's been issues. A lot of these horses are going into this race fully fit, raring to go, and that'll be the difference in the end. I'd love to see him run well, but I don't think he'll be there.
Racing over 2,000 metres for the first time this season, Ambitious Dragon.
Never raced on a wet track, so that's just something to bear in mind for the QE2 Cup. On his day, he's absolutely outstanding. We saw the best of him in the Queen's Silver Jubilee. It's been an interesting pattern of racing for him this season. He blew them away first up in October. Then he was beaten by Glorious Days in the Jockey Club Mile. It was a race against time to get him right for the big one in December. In fact, 24 hours prior to the race, Ambitious Dragon wasn't running in the mile. Anyhow, they got him right, and history shows that he won it. Then he missed a place in the Stewards Cup in a race where he was roughed around a bit on the home turn, and then he's come out and blown them away last time out. So if you're looking at this sequence, big run, defeat, he's due for a defeat in that respect. But looking at his track work, it looks as though Millard has trained him identically for this as he has for that last success there in the Queen's Silver Jubilee Cup, to the letter.
Yeah, looking at him in that gallop, he looks the best he has all season.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it'd be a big feather in Tony's cap if he can get him to go from 1,400 to 2,000 metres and win. I think it's a tall order because he hasn't got the miles on the clock, but we know what a good horse he is on the day, and we'll have to wait and see if the real Ambitious turns up or not.
I agree. I think he is a champion, there's no doubt about it. But 14 to 2,000, if it's wet as well, you know, question mark, question mark. I don't like to take on champions, but I think you have to have some little doubt over him. But it will be a great training performance if he can win it.
Do you know every time he started odds on, he's been beaten?
Yeah, I believe that, Darren. Yeah, I believe that.
What about Crackerjack and Wrath of Fire? They're certainly not going to be odds on at the weekend.
Surprise Crackerjack's in it, and Wrath of Fire.
Yeah.
No hope.
Yeah, I agree. Wrath of Fire, very honest horse, but doesn't have the engine.
Okay. So in summary, a top-class field, a number of horses though with high profiles somewhat off their game, so it adds to the intrigue, doesn't it?
Well, what are you tipping in the race?
Time to put our necks on the line with selections for the QE2 Cup. I've gone with the recent Hong Kong Derby winner, QEII to repeat the dose and become only the third horse in the history of this race to complete the double in the same year. The Japanese, always very competitive in this race, winning it last year with rulership. Asian Flash looks a very good chance for them in this year's edition of the race. And Ambitious Dragon, never to be underestimated at this level of racing. And Igugu, the champion mare from South Africa, looking for her to continue to improve.
I'm going to base my tips on a wet track, as I've sort of mentioned throughout the program. Military Attack and Handle the Wet. Informed jockey arriving in Tommy Berry. I'm going to go with the Military Attack from Mafeed, same scenario, drawn well, in form, can handle the wet. Sharjah, in form, can handle the wet also. Ambitious Dragon, I've got him in there for fourth because he's a champion. But if it's wet, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't run in the 4.
Sharjah beat among the best in the world there in Dubai. I think she's a quality mare to beat Igugu. If she can bring a South African form here, hard to beat. then Ambitious Dragon and Military Attack should get a great run on the fence.
Yeah, I think Military Attack will get the right run, and as a result, I'm happy to go with him. I think John Moore might take it out. Over Ambitious Dragon, and then a QEII Mofeed. I think QEII Mofeed and Military Attack obviously got to make my numbers because I just think they're going to get the right runs in the race. And then couldn't leave, obviously, the filly from Dubai, Sharjah. She arrives with sterling form, but it's going to be a great race, that's for sure, because it'd be just nice if they all sort of brought their best, wouldn't it, Joe? Because if they do, it'll be a great race.
Yeah. So a high calibre field of horses to run in Sunday's Group 1 QE2 Cup, and varied opinions amongst us all as to the likely outcome. Makes it interesting.
Yeah, we've all left California memory out, which is probably the first time that's ever happened in Hong Kong in a Group 1 for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a cracking race, always is, and I'm sure we won't be disappointed.
Okay. Clint, Brett, Darren, thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Joe.
Joe.
And good calling on Sunday too.
Thank you.
And don't miss it, the QE2 Cup here in Hong Kong this Sunday. Bye for now.